Hello, I am Pam, and this is my channel, Made by Pam. So today I am going to do a paint by number. You can tell I'm really prepared. I'm going to go ahead and say bye. Real quick. All right, so I'm going to do a paint by number. Make sure I can see. So this came with some paint brushes. This is from that what's it called? Was Craft Day? Put those there. I know what I forgot. I forgot to grab the cup with the water. One moment. Sorry about that. I had to grab a cup. And I'm just going to use some of my water here and put in the cup since I came totally unprepared. All right. So first off, I think we are going to paint. Let's go ahead and start with, go step by step. So go start with number 1. So I'll go ahead and cut those apart as I use them. All right. So we have number 1 here. So some of the ones are pretty widespread on here. Yeah, work. So I'm hoping, it does say there's going to be enough paint for this, but I hope. Hi, Miss Gigi, how are you? Good to see you here. So I'm doing a paint by number. Hi, Linda. I'll go ahead and move that down so you can see. I use my computer to do this because it's what I have. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my YouTube on my phone so that I will be able to see my picture. Hello, Steffi. How are you? And hello, Miss Jenren. I'm doing a paint by number. You know, there's a first for everything. And I know I'm cutting into Paint Girly's time here. Because I know she's still streaming. Because I was just on there. All right. Hello, Steffi. How are you? I don't know if I said hi to you yet. Now I'm painting in like the number ones on this. There's always a first for everything. You know, I try to figure out how to get StreamYard to work, and I just can't figure it out. So I just have to do the old-fashioned, good old way with using YouTube Live. Only way I can figure it out. Like, I can join people's StreamYard. I just can't pull one up myself. My computer does not want to cooperate with it. So I'm so glad you guys could join me today. I really enjoyed your stream last night, Steffi and Jen and Zena. I said goodbye, but I was still on when you guys was talking about me. That was great. Why, thank you, Steffi. You know, I was so shocked when I looked at my video yesterday, like my Friday Souls video from last week. I was floored. I was like, oh my goodness, what the heck? How in the heck did that happen? I was so shocked. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's those 1,000+ views that I've had on my Friday Souls video from last week. I was seriously... Oh, you don't remember what you said, Jenren? Oh, you guys were talking about, like, my coat and how fabulous it was. And, like, that I also unclogged toilets and all that fun stuff. And I do electrical and... But I was looking at, like, the views on my video from last week. And it had, like, 1,000+ views. I'm like, oh my goodness. What the heck? How did that happen? So as you guys know, I don't know if I told you or not, but I haven't ever really done a paint by number. Maybe I've done some in the past that weren't as intricate. I can't say the word, I'm sorry, but as detailed type stuff, you know. I'm sure I've done paint by numbers or color by numbers in the past. But this big picture, so I cleaned yesterday. I don't think I got any sewing done because I was straightening up my desk so that I could do my Friday sews today and get this ready to do this stream. Because I've been and of course I'm going out of the lines on this, obviously. Can you tell? I'm just like all over the place here. Now the picture I'm painting is it's a frog design. I could show you what it's supposed to look like. I have the little picture thing, little placard. So let me know if you want to see what this is supposed to look like when it's done. I can't guarantee that it will really look like that, but try. My lines might be a little skewampus there. Now go ahead and lurk, Linda. I probably have dishes calling my name too, but I like to let my husband wash them if I can, because he's going to be home for a couple more days and then he'll be gone. And so if I can give him the chore of washing the dishes for a couple more days, it'll be good. I hate washing dishes. Dishes are like my nemesis. I hate putting them away too. That's why I make my kids put them away. Like, we started making a game out of it. And it's like, okay, who can put the dishes away the fastest? And the way they jump up and rush up to that kitchen to put away the dishes is so awesome. I love it. Like, we used to ask them, it's like, okay, can you put such and such away? And now they kind of have like a dish that they like to put away. So my 12-year-old, he puts away plates. My 10-year-old will put away the pots and pans and the lids and stuff. My 8-year-old will put away cups. And my 5-year-old will put away the silverware. Well, if it's only you, Linda, with dishes, that's not so bad. It's when you have a household full of people that it gets more difficult. Because then you're the one responsible for washing all the dishes all the time. And being that it's just you, that only takes a couple minutes, I would think. Like, if it was just me that was here and I didn't have a bunch of little kids, I would probably not ever have any dirty dishes, because I would finish eating something and I'd wash the dish right away as soon as I'm done. But that's easier said than done, because sometimes I have dishes that I just set in the sink. But sometimes that's just because there's already I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Yeah, there's already dishes in the sink that need to be washed. So sometimes I just add on to it. But if I can, a lot of the times, I do try to wash what I use, depending on what it is. But if it's a family dinner, with everybody. Like dinner dishes. That's pretty much usually what there is, except for the weekends. Now, on the weekends, there are more dishes because the kids are home from school. Yeah. If the hubby didn't need to eat. So I'm just using the paintbrushes that were provided to me because that's what they provided. And they seem to be working okay so far. I know this is so slow, isn't it? Going super slow. So I don't know if any of you guys watch The Artsy Nurse. She does some amazing paintings. Now, the last couple streams, like last week, she did like a skeleton skull with the eyeball sticking out of its eye socket. I just went into number 3. Gonna have to paint over that. But she like drew up the picture. So she has some like reference points that she uses. And then she kind of intermixes these different pictures together and paints them up, which is really cool. So yesterday she was painting a mummy and a zombie mixed together. So one of the pictures, she blacks out and she has like and through the mouth and like one of the eye sockets, she had like maggots coming out of the mouth and the eye socket because it's like a mummy, but it's also a zombie. And I don't know the fascination with that stuff, but the way she paints it, oh my goodness, you guys would be astounded. So if you haven't checked her out, you really should. If you like that kind of stuff. Like she paints flowers and pictures too that aren't like the gruesome Halloween-y type stuff. Try to get some of the excess paint off my paintbrush here before I do the fine points. But she does a really, really good job. Yeah, I heard that, Jen Ren, that you're going on tonight with your mom. What time are you going on? I do have a pretty busy afternoon later. After I pick my kids up from school, I have like an hour to do stuff around the house before I have to leave again and take my son to his therapy appointment. So 7:15. Okay. So for mountain time, it's going to be 5. Oh, Yeah, mountain time is 7:15. That dinner's important, Miss Gigi. Gotta eat. And hopefully you guys can see this okay. Like, I don't have any fancy streaming equipment, and some of this stuff is so over my head that I'm like, yep, I'm not even gonna bother trying to learn some of the extra stuff. It's like one of the reasons why I use my computer is because I can move my screen down. And especially if I have to edit something, trying to edit on a phone is a nightmare. So if I need to edit anything, like if I record on my phone, I will transfer it over to my computer, and then I will edit it on my computer and process it from my computer most of the time. I need to edit it. But other than that, like if I record something on my phone, like a short or something, yeah, I'll just send that right over to YouTube. All right. See any other small sections that I can fill in with. Oh, I just found another number 1 that I didn't finish painting through the lines. Oh, one more thing I need to do really quick. I need to put my phone on silent because my daughter, I know she's going to try to call me sometime today. I wonder why I'm not helping her get her a couch and a bookcase. Which my solution when I talked to my sister and my mom and my husband, I'm like, if I was younger, I had a convertible. So she has a Ford Mustang convertible. So the top comes down. It's like, and I needed to get something that's a bulkier item. I would put the top down and because she like lives less than a mile away from the place that she is getting this item from, I would seriously make 2 trips. So I would put the top down. I would put the thing kind of like bounce it on the back of my car, like by the back seat type thing, and kind of have it there. Drive that less than a mile to my house and then get it up there. But she wants me to take my van and the trailer and go over there and pick up her items. But basically because she wants me to help get them into her apartment because it's in the back and it's up the stairs. So lots of walking and heavy lifting, which she can't really do the heavy lifting. Her boyfriend can, but he has a hard time also like figuring out how to like balance it and stuff. But even if she was to get it over to her house, I'm sure he could call his other buddy friend and his buddy could help them pack it up the stairs and put it in their apartment. And maybe that's kind of mean. on the little instruction sheet, it kind of says that the paints kind of dry quickly. So, like, not to have a whole bunch opened up at once, drying out. And if the paint's not in use, to close the lid so it keeps it fresher. So I close my little lid when I'm doing an area. I'm using like the smallest brush possible. Which I could use the middle brush, I guess. Guess what I should have done is taken my paper towels here. But I do keep some paper towels. And I should rinse off this other paintbrush just temporarily until I need it again. Because then I won't have paint stuck in the bristles the whole time. Right? All right. Yeah, exactly. Make the young people do the lifting. My daughter's boyfriend is like 20. Well, I think he's almost 21. My daughter's 20. His friend is like 21, I think. They can do all the heavy lifting. I'm twice their age. But I'm pretty sure she's going to try to call me and ask me if I was going to go help. And I was telling my husband and my sister, I'm like, you know what? I really don't want to go help at this moment because I had this planned to do even before she asked me. She asked me when I was picking up my kids from school. She asked me if I could go help her. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm at the school picking up my kids. I'm sorry I can't go drop this and help you. She's like, well, can you help me tomorrow? I'm like, I don't know. I'm probably busy tomorrow. Which I am a little bit busy because I'm doing this. Oh, and Steffi and Jenren, I also heard you guys talking about my haul that I did. Yeah. I know. I get stuff when I get stuff. And I did go to the thrift store last night and get some stuff. I got some bags of fabric and I got some craft yarn, craft rope stuff. I was like brand new. It still was in like plastic wrapping that it comes in. So it's never really been used. And so, but I got it. And my mom's like, what are you going to do with that? I'm like, I don't know, something. So of course I don't always know what I'm going to do with something. But there's sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's a really good deal. It was like $3 for this brand new skein of craft rope. It's a Kelly green. I like green. But so I got it. But I went with my mom because she had come into town because she lives about 45 minutes away. But she lives in Salt Lake and I live in Ogden. Which maybe she's like 40 minutes or 30 minutes. I don't know. Depends on the traffic and how much traffic there is. But she was down here, and so I'd gone to the store to get a couple other things. And my mom had called me asking me if I was home. And so I told her, no, I'm not home. She's like, oh, well, then I won't go knocking on your door then. Because she was like literally down the street from my house. I'm like, okay. And so she, rinse that off. It's getting a little rough bristles there. But so she was like, well, I guess I won't. See, I'm like, well, I do plan on going over to Samantha's later. And Samantha's my sister. Well, she's my sister that lives close. Our kids, well, our two older boys. So she has a 12-year-old. No. Yeah, he's 12. He'll be 13 in January. And then my 12-year-old will be 13 next month. Oh my goodness. It's crazy to think that he'll be 13 next month. But they like to play a lot together. But so I was over at my sister's. And so I went over and sat in my mom's car because she was just sitting there. And she was asking me about something, about some yarn. And she was saying that she was looking for like a dark blue. I'm like, well, let's go over to Savers and look and see what they have. You know, because I'm like, it's still going to be a couple minutes before Samantha gets here. And so, which is my sister. So we went over to Savers. Because my sister had to take her daughter and her daughter's wife over to get their hair cut. Yeah. Yeah, she could have driven her own car, but if she doesn't have to drive, if she can get someone else to do it for her, she would rather do that. Hi, Stephanie. How are you? So good to see you here. If you guys don't know, Memory Bear and Keepsakes, her name is Stephanie. I've been subscribed to her for quite a while. I actually get her newsletters too in my emails. Yeah, kids do grow up too fast. But you know what? I really don't mind them growing up. I'm kind of glad that they're growing up because they grow up and that means I have more time to do other stuff, you know, because they're all in school. I like sending my kids to school. I know some people don't, but I love it. You know, I drive them to school every day, well, Monday through Friday. Fridays they get out early. But I take them to school every day. And so they're gone all day, which is great. Because then that gives me more time to do stuff like this. And more time to play and sew. Granted, I can, you know, sew and do stuff when they're here. But they're noisy. And they like to come down and interrupt. And so when they're at school, it's like my quiet time, my alone time, where sometimes I don't do anything constructive. Sometimes I sit there and I binge watch YouTube videos or Hulu shows off of Hulu. Like I could tell you some of my like shows that I've been watching because a new season just started So I like to watch Resident. Which is on Hulu. I like to watch what other one? It's one with Sean Murphy. The Good Doctor. I like to watch that one. I like to watch Grey's Anatomy. Like, my mom actually got me interested in Grey's Anatomy. And my mom used to watch it all the time. So sometimes when I would go over and visit her, she would be watching Grey's Anatomy. So I'd sit down and watch it with her. And we'd talk and chat. That's supposed to be a different color. Oh, that's a 9. Okay. Better not color that in. And then there's like Lone Star. I don't think they have any new episodes of Lone Star out yet, though. It's a 911 Lone Star. So it's another emergency responder. Oh, and then I like to watch The Rookie and The Rookie Fed. And of course I like to watch The Bachelor and The Bachelorette and Bachelor in Paradise. And I like to watch The Handmaid's Tale. Oh, my husband, he's tried to watch The Handmaid's Tale and he's like kind of forcing himself to. Which I'm like, if you can't handle watching it, you don't have to. He's like, but I need to. Because he sees a lot of what society is going to. And he's afraid that it's going to turn into that. So he kind of wants to be prepared. I'm like, I hope it never turns into like what The Handmaid's Tale is. That would be scary. I don't want to like be forced to cook and clean like those Marthas and have babies like the handmaids, and then to raise babies like the wives of the commanders. Oh my goodness, there's no way. I wouldn't want anyone to live like that at all. That would be scary. It's like literally like kidnapping a child and then calling it your own. But these parents know where their children are. Well, they know that they're with somebody. They don't know their specific location. But it's like taking a child against your will. Like, and it's not even like you're a bad mom. These people are just like, well, here's one. There's a nice, loving family. Let's go ahead and uproot their life and make it miserable. Oh, and I like to watch Call of the Midwives. That one I think is on Netflix. Yeah, it's hard when your mom's far away, isn't it, Jen? So how far away does she live, Jen? Good thing there is like telephone and stuff. And a chance to talk to her that she's willing to stream with you. Like, my mom watches my videos. She'll watch my videos, and then she went down and visited her friend, like her longtime friend. She drove down. Took her a couple hours because she went down to Wendover because her friend lives in like right off the edge of Wendover. My mom was telling me how rough of a drive that was because she's not used to driving that far. Because she's gone so many years without a vehicle of her own. She's always like this kind of borrowed a vehicle because she wanted to get a vehicle, but then, they would say, no, you can use this vehicle. We'll maintain it and stuff. And then my sister and her husband went out and helped. Oh, see you later, Jenren. Enjoy your appointment. Yeah, Ohio is quite a ways from Colorado. But yeah, what I was saying is that my mom didn't have her own vehicle for the longest time. And then my sister and her husband, because my mom lives with my sister in Salt Lake, well, North Salt Lake. But they decided that they were going to help my mom get a vehicle. Because my mom had the money saved up. It was just a point of getting out to get it. So they went and they picked it up for her. Says, you know what, we'll handle this. So basically they left the kids with her while they went out and found the vehicle, which she was okay with. Because they made sure everything on it was good and everything and took care of it all for her. So she didn't have to worry about it. And then she does have days off. Because basically my mom is like a live-in nanny. So my mom like helps watch the kids. That's pretty much what my mom has done for years since she stopped like actually having a outside job, because she had to quit working with the full-time job or anything because it required a lot of standing and a lot of walking, and it made it really difficult because she has bad knees and has trouble walking sometimes. Because her body's getting older and she's getting older. But yeah, they went out and got her a car. And she was telling me how nice it is. Because I asked her, I'm like, so do you like being able to have your own car again? She's like, yes. She's like, it's amazing. Need to use a smaller brush in those other areas. Let's see. I just dipped my paintbrush in this paint. Now I'm having trouble finding another number one that I can fill in. There we go. There's another number one. Like, I don't want all this paint that I just put on this paintbrush to go to waste. Well, I'm sure I could scrape it back into the container. Maybe. Like, my kids get so upset at me sometimes. Like, so my son was listening to a song this on his tablet. And then my 12-year-old is like, why are you listening to love songs? It's not Valentine's. Shouldn't be doing that. Can't even remember what song it was now. But I started singing it a little bit. And then my 10-year-old started singing it because he was the one listening to it. He kind of knew the words better than me, but that's because he probably had the words on his tablet that he was following along with. Like the other morning, they were singing, my son was listening to Christmas songs, and they were talking about Christmas and stuff. And so I just start singing Christmas songs. My 12-year-old is like, stop it. It's so funny. But I like to sing in the mornings too. So I'll get up and I'll just start singing a song or whatever. Because it kind of wakes me up and gets me going for the day. But then it kind of wakes my kids up too. And they may not always appreciate it. But you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm totally okay with them getting mad at me for singing. Like my 10-year-old will get mad at me sometimes. I'm like, will you stop singing? I'm like, why? I'm like, it's a beautiful day. Granted, it's a beautiful day, but I don't always hold. If I'm singing it's a beautiful day, it kind of makes it so, right? Okay, got that one rinsed off. Now to go back to the small one and finish filling in these fine little spots that I didn't get to. Because that big one is just a little bit too big. I guess the small one is for like these small little, smaller areas, I guess. Bye, Jenren. Enjoy your appointment. Although you probably won't, but yeah. If it's a doctor's appointment, those are no fun, but necessary. As long as you're not sick or anything. Like in like 2 weeks, I'll be taking my 12-year-old, which will then be 13. I'll be taking him for his 13-year-old well child check at the doctor's. And the great thing is, it always, well, usually 99% of the time, I'm able to get the appointment scheduled right on his birthday, which is great. And so we go to the doctor, and when we go to the doctor, that's when all my other kids get their shots too. So I'm taking in my 13-year-old to get his, 13-year-old shots, which there won't be a whole lot. I think he has like the HPV shot thing that they're doing, because he got his first round last year, and then they got to do that second round a year later. And then they'll get their flu shots and their COVID shots. And usually I'll get the shot along with them. Like the doctor's office that we go to, they used to not offer the adult vaccines for the parents. But then the doctor that they see came into the office, and we switched to him. I used to go to school with his sister. But he came in and he made a couple of changes. So made it so that the parents can get their shots at the same time as the child. Because if the child sees a parent getting a shot, the child is less likely to throw as much of a fit. You know, the way I look at it. And maybe the parent throws a fit too, and it makes it more difficult, which would just be silly. But I know there are some parents out there that do throw fits when it comes to shots, which is just childish. It's not like we like having shots, but well, hello, Joni. So I am doing a paint by number. I'm painting a little frog, and I'm doing all the number ones first. Because I have this little thing here that says number 1. And so I'm painting in all the little tiny number ones on this page before I move on to the next color. And this is a pretty big page. I measured it yesterday and told Clint what size it was, because I was talking to him yesterday. And because he did a live yesterday, and he was making like a little doll thing, but making the skirt to go on it, which he uses a glass bottle and puts the skirt around and then does something with the top. So he's not all the way done, but he got the skirt done. And I guess he did like glued a lot of it. But then we chatted for a little bit after his live. When I told him what size what size this was. I guess I can measure it out. Oh man. So, trying to find all my spots that I need to paint. So many small intricate, I can't even, intricate, I don't know, did I say that right? Like little tiny areas to paint through. It's so much easier to use like a marker. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do the paint by number and paint this. All right. You're crocheting popcorn kernels? Are you gonna string them together and use them for like a Christmas tree decoration? Be quite cute. And put it in a bowl and try to trick somebody that there's a whole bunch of popcorn in the bowl, so they go to reach in and then they're chewing on a whole bunch of cotton. They're like, this isn't popcorn. And kind of chuckle there in the background. Look for my other number ones. I know I have more. Like right here. Small little areas. And you're using red beads as the berries. That'll be cute. So you're gonna use them on your Christmas tree, huh? As like little garland type stuff. Guess that's better than usual actual popcorn. Like sometimes I'll like watch the live as like when the artsy nurse paints her stuff. Or if I have to leave and I didn't have a chance to finish watching her finish with it, or I miss her live, I'll go back and I'll watch it. But I'll put it in like the fast forward mode. So I'll like sometimes 1.5, maybe 2 speed, so that it goes faster. Because I want to see her paint it. I just want to do it in a less amount of time, I guess. Because I like watching her paint. It's so cool. Like, see, puts paint down and then she changes the color a little bit and adds extra little textures and touches. And it's like, wow. And she makes it look so like real life. Like, it's so good and so detailed. It's amazing. Oh, on my albino frog video. Yeah. I'd sped it up like to 1.75 and I liked the way it sounded. So I like the way, just the way it made me sound. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to leave it like this. Because it was so cute and it sounds so neat. Well, and then I like sped up the video too. Like that. Hello, Patty. Oh yeah, the fast forward sounded super crazy. Yeah, so if you like fast forward it when it was already super fast anyways, yeah, it would sound super crazy. But yeah, the video would have been like an hour long because it took me forever to get that done. And so in the parts that I wasn't talking, I sped up like super fast. Like some of them were like the 32, some of them were the 64, some of them were just the 8 and the 16 speed, depending on what it was. But I took it from like an hour, like over an hour long, to like 11 minutes doing it that way. And I know someone else is also doing a live right now, like Miss Lennox. She is also doing a live. Because I've watched her a couple of times. Like I was going to try to do this yesterday, but it just did not happen. Because I was cleaning things up, and cleaning stuff up to make it presentable takes a little bit longer than you anticipate. Because I wanted to make sure I had the desk cleaned off so that I could actually have room to paint. Oh, yeah, the chipmunks. Oh, thanks, Joni. Like, there's some videos that I've sped up, but it's only been like so that it's just a little bit faster, but not like a whole bunch. But I know sometimes I talk like super slow if I'm thinking about something. And sometimes I get like super sidetracked on talking. All those thoughts that run through the mind that get you sidetracked. But when I'm recording and stuff, even when I'm like recording a regular video and I'm doing something, I try to talk during it, but then sometimes I don't. And sometimes I watch things back and I'm like, you know what, this is kind of boring. You know, I mean, making the item was good. I wasn't bored when I made the item. But sometimes I think about it, I'm like, so is someone else going to be interested and watching a couple hour long video with not much going on. Like, lives are different. You could sit there and watch a live because you're like interacting with the person. But a lot of the time, I'm sorry, but like if it was a live, I have a hard time going through and watching it unless I can speed it up. Like if it's a playback. But I do try. But sometimes you can't catch them all either because there's so many. Some people's speech can be easy to speed up and still clearly understand. I'm one of those people, so I just assume everyone speeds me up. I really like those little shorts that you've been doing, Joni. Oh, that little dress that was made for the little dolly. That was adorable. It was so cute. I have so much paint on the upper part of my paintbrush. I'm sure some people would be appalled by how much paint I have up there, up in the top part. Do you see how much paint I have up there? Pretty sad, I tell you. But it's time to rinse it off anyways, because the paint's starting to get kind of sticky in there. So she popped in and asked for a dress. Yeah, that is one of the joys of crafting. Like, my son wanted me to make him a Halloween costume. And of course, back in July, August, you're thinking, oh, it's too soon. I'm not ready to do that yet because you're busy doing other stuff. Like September, I was busy making dresses. Well, trying to finish up the dresses that I was making and finishing up my coat and stuff. And so when it comes time to get his Halloween costume done, Halloween is like in a couple days. I never got one made for him. I feel bad because he asked. I thought about it, but he was asking for some like outlandish costume thing. And I just wasn't gonna do one. And then he's asking to go to Walmart and pick up a costume. And so my 12-year-old is like, why is it always Walmart that you always want to go to? Are you going to buy a house from Walmart too when you're older? He's like, no, I'm going to get my stuff from Home Depot. And then my 12-year-old is like, Home Depot doesn't make good furniture. I'm like, they have tables and chairs. Yeah, but it's not good furniture. And I was almost going to tell him, like, well, Home Depot does kind of make a mini house. Like, you could buy one of those sheds and turn it into like a mini house type thing. Because they're pretty decent. Oh, those are kind of expensive too. I know they used to not be quite as expensive. Now my 12-year-old has a mouth on him. Oh my goodness. He like swore at me this morning. I'm like, don't talk to me like that. And he says something else. Sometimes I just, if I was one of those mean moms, I would just want to go like this and go whack, like whack, and just slap him silly. I'm not going to do that, because not only that, but it hurts my hands trying to hit a kid. And I don't hit my kids. I try not to. I'll swat their butt every once in a while. My husband is, no, it was my mom was telling me, well, get some hot sauce. I'm like, he's 12. Is that really going to do any good? She's like, yeah. I was that age. If I back talked to my parents, I got slapped. Like, yeah, well, I'm not going to slap him. I can't do that. But she's like, but you could use hot sauce on his tongue because of his mouth. I'm like, yeah, true. Man, he's got a mouth. But he's always so grumpy and bitter. It's like he's always got a chip on his shoulder. And he hates his brother. He says that all the time. Yeah, if they only knew how many times we wanted to pop him. But we maintain our composure, yeah. I wanted to hide that one, by the way, Joni. It didn't want to show it. Like it's real life. You know what I need to do, Joni? I need to make you a moderator so that just in case we have any of those bots that come in, because I don't see any of the other people that I made moderators last time I did this. I think I'd made Kathy and Jasper a moderator last time. And I made one other person that came in. But they were like, please take the moderation away. It's too much responsibility. And so I did as I was ending the live. But I needed them to share the channel that they were talking about, because I needed to subscribe to it. And I couldn't find it if they didn't share it. Like I was telling my mom about the video I did last week about my Friday sews and how shocked I was with how many views it had. For some people that would be nothing, because some people get that many views within a couple hours or even minutes of their videos airing. Well, I'm not that popular, but the amount of views I got on last Friday's video, I was like, oh my goodness, it shocked me. I was like, oh wow. I was telling my mom, she's like, well, I've been sharing your channel with my friends. She's like, I even shared it with my friend Donna. And we sat there and watched it. Like, oh, thank you. So yeah. But my mom watches my videos. And then she'll talk to me about it. Like I was wearing my hidden backpack jacket last night. I was talking to her about it. And she was saying how neat it was. And that she really liked that idea. Because I used it on Tuesday when I went on the field trip with my son. And so it started to get a little bit warmer in the capital. And so yeah, I think we are too lenient with this generation. It's hard though, because we don't want to be like super strict. But I totally understand. Getting closer to the bottom of this paint creation. $10:20. I've been on for an hour and 20 minutes. Like, I know I'm probably a little bit lenient with my kids. Sometimes their mood swings are scary, though. Oh my goodness. 12-year-old? Well, it's even harder if that child. Hi, Lisa. So I am doing a paint by number. So right now I am painting in all of the number ones. So I haven't gotten very far. For the hour that I've been on, I've only gotten this much painted. But this is a picture that I am painting, that this is supposed to look like when I'm done. Hello, Teresa. How are you? So nice of you guys to join me today. I'm doing a paint by number. So I'm kind of scanned through this whole picture here, trying to find all of the number ones. Now this picture I got from the craft day, new craft day. As part of that new craft day haul video thing I did a couple weeks ago. And when I did the video, I had said that I was going to try to do the projects while so I would record it. And so I have like a diamond dot painting one that's an owl. And I have a diamond dot like notebook type thing. I think it's an elephant that's on the notebook. It's really cute. Because I was able to pick out like 3 different items. They give you like a budget. So you have to make sure that your items that you're picking out are underneath that cost. So if I had picked out some things that were a little cheaper, I might have been able to get 4 items. But they reached out to me and said they got my email from my YouTube videos. And of course, because I do have my email listed in my About page. And the email I just have is Made by Pam Boutique. And the reason why it says boutique, okay? So I would have just gone Made by Pam at gmail.com. But the thing is, when I was setting up that email, I was setting it up like to use with Etsy because I was trying to do an Etsy shop. And so I wanted to have a separate email that like my sewing stuff and my Etsy shop stuff could go to. Well, I never did continue on with Etsy. I think I just stopped doing anything with Etsy. Because Etsy, trying to sell stuff. You know, when I was little, I used to go like door to door and try to sell things to people. And I did okay with that, you know. But see, I wasn't selling my own stuff. I was selling, well, I did sell some of my own stuff, okay? So when I was little, I used to make these like little seashell earrings. And I'd make them out of like the little canvas, like the little whole like craft plastic canvas stuff. I hope you know what I'm talking about. Because you could like thread yarn through it and stuff. But there used to be this thing, and I would do the little seashells and kind of twist it around and make it look like a little seashell out of this canvas stuff. And I'd make some of those, and I would go around and I would try to sell them to my friends and neighbors. You know, I was like, I don't know. I guess it was between like the age of 10 and 15 is when I lived in that house. Well, I lived in that house starting at age 9. But I know when I was 9, I wasn't doing that. But, you know, I was just this little kid. Like one time I was going around the different neighborhoods and I got myself lost. And so I had to go ask one of the people. I'm like, I don't remember how to get home. Can you call my parents, call my house so that they can come get me? Yeah, it was great. So, you know, later I figured out that I really needed to figure out how to get home if I was going to go out selling, because my parents were not very happy that they had to come find me because I went out selling stuff and then they had trouble finding me so we used to have this like little magazine thing, and I used to go around and try to sell things from the magazine, and they would order it and then I would get the stuff in and I would go deliver it to them. You know, I thought nothing of it. I thought it was pretty cool because I would try to get little prizes for selling so much stuff, and that's what I did. And then I tried selling the little earrings that I'd made and stuff. And geez, I don't even think I even have any of those seashell earrings that I made so many years ago. You know, that was a long time ago. But trying to make stuff now and selling it, like I think some of the people just bought the things and wore them just because I was this cute little girl that was, you know, a teenager. So I guess it was probably before I started my paper route. So maybe I was between like the age of like 9 and 12, because I got a paper route at the age of 12 and I started delivering the papers. Which is crazy to think. But if they still had things where they could do paper routes without having to have a vehicle to do them, that they could just still hook it up to their bicycles and go out and deliver papers, that would be great. But it's not like that anymore. Like, you kind of have to have a vehicle to do newspapers anymore. Yeah, we put our parents through a lot of stuff. Jeez. Like, I remember when I was in first grade, so I was like 7, 8 years old. Which is weird to think, like, me being 7 and 8 in first grade. Yeah, because I didn't start second grade until after. Maybe, well, because, yeah, I turned 8 when I lived in Wyoming. And, I lived in Wyoming for like 2 years. And then we moved to back to Roosevelt in Utah for the summertime. And then we moved to Kaysville in Utah. That's, maybe 20, 25-minute drive from here. So right now I'm looking for more number ones. I just dipped my paintbrush in the number 1. And now I'm sitting here looking for more number 1s because I just dipped my paintbrush. Oh, I found one. Better fill that in. But yeah, we put our parents through a lot of crap as little kids. I used to like leave the house and go to the 7-Eleven down the street. I used to go in and I was friends with the manager. My mom had tried getting a job at that 7-Eleven. The lady didn't hire her. And so my mom went over to I think there was a Maverick down the street. Yeah, I know, Joni. We'd be horrible parents if we let our kids ride down the street at all hours. And I do see some kids that do that go around riding around. But sometimes I look at my kids, I'm like, yeah, they're not quite ready for that. But when my 22-year-old, when he was like 9, 10 years old, he'd wanted to ride to my sister's house. And she lives maybe 3, 4 miles away. Well, not too far. But so the first time I let him ride his bike, because he wanted to go up that way, I let him ride his bike, but I basically followed him the whole entire way to make sure he got there. And there was cell phones then at that time, because I got my cell phone back in 2005. And so I know when my son was like an infant, like he was 1, the cell phone coming out more. And I'm sure there was some before that too. But like the big bricks. Yeah. But yeah, I would go to the 7-Eleven and talk to the lady. Like, I would try to walk to school. They did not want us walking to school. We pretty much had to ride the school bus. And if they caught us walking to school, we got in trouble. Like the school bus would pretty much pull up in front of our house and wait for us to come out to the bus if we were not at the bus stop. Like that's how like dedicated they were. They like would wait for us. Sometimes we wouldn't be all the way ready and they would sit there and wait for us. Like hardly ever did we miss the bus because the bus driver would wait for us. Now there was some bus drivers that wouldn't. The main ones that were like the normal bus driver that would come out, they would wait for us. Like I was in first grade. Like, granted, I spent 2 years in first grade, but with my accident I had when I was 4, that was a given. Like, I had trouble reading when I was in first grade. So I was still struggling with reading, but, so I guess I turned 6 when I was in kindergarten, so I was still 7 years old, and so I turned 8 when my second year of first grade. And I had trouble reading. And so they had talked about it, and it's like, well, we think this would be good for you to, stay back a grade for a year, and if you get ahead, you can help the teacher. Well, I was all for that. I'm like, oh, I get to be a teacher's helper. Awesome. Well, I caught up and I soared at reading, and I did really good. Yeah. I know there was some of my siblings that were sick on days too. But if one of us was going out, we would just tell the bus driver that so and so wasn't going. But a lot of the time, and my older siblings were in a different school too, because some of them were going to the middle school, junior high thing. Because my brother, I think he's like 13 years older than me. I think. Is that much older? No, he's not that much older. Sorry. He's like maybe 6, because I think he was born in 72. So he's like 6 years older. But yeah. So I think I got all of the number ones. Only took an hour and a half, right? To get all of the number ones. Well, it's a little bit messy on my end, but it doesn't look too bad. So now we have the number 2s. I'll kind of look at the number 2s. I have a couple of bigger spots and then a lot of smaller spots. But I don't think there's a lot of smaller spots over here on this end and over here. That will take, I can probably put some of this in those areas. Like there was times where I would try to walk home from school, or I would try to ride the bus to school. Yeah, they didn't like that either. But I think about it, like my daughter, she's in 3rd grade and she's 8. But she also has a birthday in August. So her birthday falls just before the cutoff for kindergarten that they have. And so she starts school, like she started school at this school and then she turned 5. So she was there for maybe a week and then she turned 5. And she really struggled with reading. But this year, but over the summertime and like the beginning of this year, she has like caught up. Like they had talked about holding her back. They were like, she's really struggling with this. I think we need to do some intervention. I'm like, she will catch up. Give her some time. Because I could see she was trying, but also in 2020 with the pandemic, that's when she was in kindergarten. And so, like, in that March time, when the kids are like finally grasping the concept of the reading and writing and stuff, they get a curveball thrown at them. And they all of a sudden are stuck at home with their parent, like most likely just one parent, because everything is shut down. You know, some kids are sick, some are not. You know, just that whole situation. But to say, okay, well, you're going to do school from home, it is kind of difficult for a lot of parents, I'm sure. Because for me, yeah, I've done homeschool stuff before. I've had to teach my kids. I know Joni does teaches her child at home. You know, and that's a little different. Because people can use different curriculums and different ideas of teaching. But for my daughter, it just like totally threw a curveball. And so she was behind. And so first grade, she was starting to learn a little bit more. But first grade, it was still kind of a curveball. Because so she's going to school, but they have November, like the whole month of November in 2020, they didn't go to school. They all had to like do work from home on the computers. And they did so much, but that computer learning, sometimes it just wasn't the same as actually going to school and doing stuff in school. Like they do a virtual day on Fridays, like maybe twice a year. They used to do it more, but now it's just like twice a year. So they do like, they did one a couple weeks ago, and then they're doing one in a couple months. So they like has done it so it's just like a one time during the semester. Hi, Stephanie. How are you? Yeah, bad days are rough. I have no idea what that blank white spot is supposed to be there. Doesn't have a number. I guess when I get to it and look at the picture that they sent me with it, I can find out what that little tiny spot right there in the middle is, what color it's supposed to be. But for now, I'm not going to really worry about it till later, until I get to that point. But yeah, homeschool isn't for everybody. And the thing, that depends on what curriculum you decide to use too. I just found some spots. I forgot my green for my number 1. So I'm going to have to fill that in a minute. But it is hard. But like the curriculum I was using for homeschool for my two oldest, because I did that for 3 years. Basically, I took them out of the public school because there was no point for them to be there if they were just going to send them home and like suspend them half the time. I think my son spent more time at home than he did in school during that second grade year, because I did end up getting him tested and he was on the spectrum. They called it PDD, which is abbreviation pervasive developmental disorder. But now they just basically just say ASD, like a high functioning autism. And he's doing okay now. Like he doesn't really show signs of it, and he is in the Navy, so I'm, that's kind of surprising that he was able to join the Navy, having that diagnosis. But he pretty much grew out of it, He was able to function and do stuff. But it's scary. So I did like the homeschool thing for 3 years. So in 6th grade, so I homeschooled him from like 3rd to 6th. Because like the end of 2nd grade, he got sent home for doing something. They got mad at him for something. And he like got in a fight or something. And he'd also like threatened to blow up the school at one point too. Well, my 10-year-old now says stuff like that too during school. And they just know that that's just him expressing himself because he's angry. Not that he would ever do that. He says stuff like that, but he's not going to like act on it. And luckily, the special ed department understands that because of the autism. Because he does get like overstimulated, and sometimes he just like kind of says stuff that comes to his mind because they are forward thinkers. They like something comes to their mind and they just express it because that's the way they are. They're not going to hold back and not say it because they don't. And so it does get him in trouble sometimes with the school, but they understand the situation and they give him a minute and talk to him about it, and then they're good again. So I'm lucky that, he's had to come home a couple times for different things. Like when he hits or kicks a teacher and yells at him, yeah, he has to come home because he gets himself in trouble. But those are just like usually on bad days. But we had him on a medication. So I haven't always been one to medicate a child. Like I was pretty much against it. So when my 22-year-old was little and we were trying to figure out what to do with him because he had some issues, and they tried to medicate him. And so we tried. I was kind of against it, but we tried. And he got so sick, and he lost like 10 pounds in a week because he was so sick, and it caused so many migraines because he had a little bit of migraines anyways. But this gave him such severe migraines and stomach aches, and he was sick and agitated, and it was almost time to do like the state testing that they would do with like the homeschool stuff, because he was going through a program, and so they were going to have to go in and do this testing in a center that the students would go in and they would do testing, and they would do this like maybe once or twice a year. That they would have to go into the center and do this testing for this program. Well, he was so sick, and I was like, yep, we're not doing medication. And at that time, I was like, I would rather deal with his behavior and get a little bit done than nothing done because he's so sick. Until I pretty much decided that I wasn't going to medicate my 22-year-old. And then when it came time for my 10-year-old, I was kind of hesitant. I'm like, really? This is going to be difficult. But we did go to med doctor and we did talk to him about it. Like we manage his meds through a med doctor. Well, actually it's his pediatrician that manages it now, but we was going to a different doctor, but the place we were going was always changing the med management doctor. That I talked to his pediatrician, and he's like, you know what, I can manage it. But if it's something else that he's going to have, you're going to have to find somebody else. I'm like, well, that's fair enough. Because that's understandable, because there's only so much that the doctor can do, you know. But my son was doing like the methylphenidate, and then he tried guanfacine, and he tried olanzapine, and I think he tried duloxetine, and he's tried clonidine, and he's tried Adderall. And so the Adderall and the methylphenidate, it's like an ADHD med. They have some serious side effects. So you don't always notice it at first, but it gets into his system and he starts having really bad tics. Oh, I just found another number 1 that I need to fill in. But he would have like these severe tics. And so the end of the school year last year, being that he wasn't going to be in school, I pretty much detoxed his system. Like I didn't give him any of the medications. I'd probably give him his like multivitamins and stuff, and his vitamin D, because he was low on the vitamin D3 until they had suggested giving that to him. But I pretty much took him off all of the other medications because his tics got so bad he was going to like give himself whiplash or something, because he'd be whipping his head around and having like these weird neck and shoulder contortions and stuff. I was like, there's no way that I'm going to continue with this because of the situation that was going on. And so I took him off of those medications, got his system rid of it, and then before school started again, I went back on it. And I didn't give him one, and I was like, okay, well, maybe it's a combination. So I started with one. And, you know, I didn't see much improvement, but then the tics started coming back. Yeah, a lot of developmental issues. Like my kids, they do. Like pretty much all of my kids are in, like, have IEPs. But so what I was saying, I started my son back on the medication. I talked to his doctor. I'm like, this Adderall is like, I'm noticing all of these like tics and stuff. So I'm not giving it anymore. And so the doctor is like, well, let's try to see if the methylphenidate will be beneficial again. We can try that on him because he's been off of it for a while. And he's like, do you need me to write you a prescription? I'm like, no, I actually kept some of the pills. Because sometimes my son does build up resistance and needs his medication changed to something else. But so I gave him the methylphenidate, and like within a day or so, those side effects, the tics and stuff, started coming back, and just the agitation and stuff. I'm like, okay, we're not doing that. So I just sent him to school, and he wasn't on any medication. And so he did pretty good first like week and a half of school. But getting into the second, third week of school, he started having some issues. And they call me up and like, man, he's not doing his work. He's doing this. Does by whatever we have been doing in the world, either food or chemical, something is going on. Yeah, there's something going on. But like they blame it, a lot of it on like the dyes and stuff, like the red dye and stuff. But it's hard to find stuff that doesn't have it, and I'm just not going to worry about it. I know how horrible that sounds. But the school calls me and says he's having these issues. And they've been having these issues and he's not wanting to do anything, and this has been going on. I'm like, well, why are you just telling me now? Why didn't you tell me before? But it's basically because it just become an issue again. So he's doing pretty good, but they're just basing this off of a couple days, but they're making it sound like it's been for weeks and that it's just the most horrible thing, And so I'm talking to him. And so I go and I talk to the doctor. And so they told me this, like just before it was, like a day or two before it was time to go see his doctor for like the well child check and the medication checkup and stuff. And so I talked to his doctor about the issues with the other pills because I'd already told the doctor. But I'm like, we need to find something that is going to work because he needs to be able to focus at school. And it's not like he gets like super hyperactive. And that's the thing, like with the ADHD. It's not really hyperactivity all the time. And he is able to sit there and focus. So like with ADHD, they do have like this, I guess they can sit there and like hyper focus on something. And he does do that sometimes. Like he can sit there and play the computer just fine. He has no issue with that. My kids are brilliant on the computers. And I'm cool with that. Like I know his therapist was going to tell me to try to limit like their screen time if they don't have a good day at school or something. I'm like, this is my way of coping. I'm like, I'm not going to take that away. I haven't told the therapist this yet because I was supposed to have a meeting with him, but then the therapist canceled the meeting because he wasn't feeling good. And I had like totally forgot about the one just before that because I lost my key. And so I was like frantically searching everywhere in the house for my key. Luckily, my husband had another key, but I had totally spaced about the appointment I was supposed to go to. So I didn't make it to my appointment. And then it gets to like noon, and I finally remember that I was supposed to have an appointment with my son's therapist, and I had totally spaced it because my appointment was supposed to be at like 9 o'clock in the morning. And here it was noon, and I had totally spaced. I called and explained it to the people. Of course, they're not going to make an exception and like say, oh, well, you don't have to pay the no call, no show fee. Of course they're not going to do that. They're going to make me pay it. Yeah, they already did make me pay it. And so we set up the appointment for that Wednesday. And of course, they call me and say, oh, well, he's not feeling very good. So he needed us to call you and cancel the appointment. I'm like, really? So, of course, this doesn't do me any benefits because they called me to cancel the appointment. But it's like, if I was to cancel with such short notice, they would have still charged me because I didn't give them 24 hours notice. But being the doctor calling and canceling, of course, they're not going to charge you that no call, no show. They're not going to give you any because it's a doctor. But if you call to cancel an appointment, they're going to say, oh, you have to pay because you didn't give us 24-hour notice. Or if you forget, I forgot. And it's ridiculous. They charge you like $125 for a no call, no show. Okay? I think that's a little excessive. But for an appointment, they charge, with the insurance and stuff, they charge over $200 and something. And then it's like highway robbery, seriously. There is no handbook with parenting. There's out there that they try to be, but I find those books and stuff just kind of boring that I can't keep up with them half the time. George was charged for cancel, but then when the doctor cancels, he goes up there and demands a fee. Yeah, I should do that. When they called me to cancel, I'm like, okay, well, I didn't show up on Monday, and now you're canceling for him. So you know what? I think you should cancel charging me the cancellation fee for me not showing up. It should just even each of them out. Because it should. Because you end up, something happens, and I should have been more prepared. But I was a little stressed because I had my key on Friday because I got my kids from school and I had it in my purse. But the thing is, I didn't have it on the actual key ring that I usually keep it on. So it was just in my purse. Well, I had taken the car because my husband was home. So I had taken the car out to the appointment for my son. And then when we was out there, we decided that after we were done at the appointment, we was going to go to a couple of yard sales that were out there. Well, one of the yard sales I went to, when I went to get my purse out of my wallet out of my purse so I could get my cash, apparently my key had fallen out of my purse. And so we was dealing with that, which is crazy. But I didn't realize when it did. And so on Monday, I realized that my key is not in my purse. And so I go out and I look in the van looking for it. I'm like, well, it's not here. Because sometimes I'll leave it in the ignition. Because I just park it in my garage. And my garage locks. And so sometimes I'll leave my key in the ignition if, depending on what's going on. But I put it in my purse. And so I'm like, great. And so I go in the bedroom and I look in my husband's drawer. And luckily, I was able to find the extra key. That's not always that case that I can find one, because I'm like, I hope he didn't take it to work with him. Because in the past, he has taken the key to work with him, but that's only because at the beginning of the day, I tell him, okay, I'm going to come swap the car so that I can use it for work, because I would rather drive the car to go to work and deliver food. Like I did DoorDash and Uber and stuff. Well, I still do. Like I don't do as much Uber rides now because it's harder when I don't have the vehicle. But like when the car was around, I did a lot of Uber rides and stuff. But my van to go deliver DoorDash and Grubhub and stuff and Uber Eats. And sometimes I do that because it'll come up with like a little promotion with Grubhub. Like sometimes it will come up and say, okay, for so many things, you can get this bonus up until such and such time. And so I would do that. Like one day I deliver like 4 deliveries because I didn't have anything else better going on. Not only that, but I just spent a lot of money at the thrift store. Yeah. Well, and I spent a lot of money at Hobby Lobby too. And I'm like, well, I need to recoup some of that money. So let me go out and work for a couple hours. So I worked for a couple hours, did 4 deliveries. And I made $42 for 4 deliveries, which isn't a whole lot. But it wasn't horrible either. I drove maybe 45 miles to do those 4 deliveries. But, surprisingly, I like doing the DoorDash and the Grubhub thing. But the thing with DoorDash is you can't always find an opening to go on there unless you're make it to Top Dasher. And I haven't done DoorDash enough lately to make it to Top Dasher. So I can't just log on anytime I want like you can with Top Dasher. Well, and they're having some technical issues, like some programming issues with the app too. But with Grubhub, I can log on anytime. So if I decide I want to log on and wait for an order to come in, while I'm doing something, sometimes I've logged on and I've come home and I put groceries away and stuff and had all the groceries put away before I got an offer. And so I get an offer and then I go out and get it and deliver it. I've done that a couple times. So I'm not driving around looking for an order because that's just ridiculous. But with Grubhub, they do kind of send you further places. They don't take into account your vicinity. They're just oh, this person is open. Let's go ahead and send them an order. Even though you're totally having to drive a long ways away to get to what you have to do. That's the way it is. But I watched some of these people that do like the deliveries and stuff, and they have it and they do it on their channels and stuff, like the DoorDash and stuff. So I've watched some of the channels, and some of them try to multi-app. I've tried that a couple times, and I'm like, nope. Like there was one time I did it, and it just kind of worked out just perfect, where the two different orders, like I pick up one order and then I go across the street and pick up the other order, and they're going pretty much in the same area, but it's too risky because for me, when I pick up an order, I don't want to have to cancel it. I don't want to have to change my mind and say, oh, sorry, I picked up your order, but now I'm not going to pick it up. And I don't want to have to like have an offer for an order and then say, oh, nope, sorry, I'm not going to deliver it. I don't like that. If I'm going to pick up an order, I want to be able to like deliver it. I don't like canceling orders. And if I get offered an order, yeah, sometimes I'll let it pass me by. But other times I pick it up, and a lot of those dashers that do those videos, they would say that you're a clown for picking up these orders. Like, yep, I'm probably a clown for picking up the order, but you know what? I'm going to do it because you don't know the situation. Maybe this person, like, really doesn't have that extra money to spare, because sometimes these things, this DoorDash stuff, it can be expensive to order off of that. And I have ordered off of DoorDash, so I do use DoorDash sometimes. Like when I was helping my daughter move last week, my son called me and he's like, Mom, when are you going to come home? Because he was watching the kids, because he's 12. He can watch the kids. He can be a responsible teenager. And so he does. And he's like, I'm hungry. Bring me food when you're coming home. And I was like, oh man, I don't even have my wallet on me. Because all I took with me was my license and my key. I didn't take my purse with my card and stuff in it, because I was going to be in and out of the vehicle, and I didn't want my purse or my wallet just sitting there inside my van. So I just had my ID in my pocket. Don't laugh at me, Pam, but those businesses are horrible. There's so much more to their business model than people realize. They're a really bad company, and bad not mean bad as a scam. All the companies that do DoorDash and that, maybe. But it is what it is. But I ordered DoorDash for my son, so and I knew what I could order. Yeah, they do take advantage of the drivers and companies, and then accept none of the responsibilities of insurance or wear and tear on cars. Yeah. So, but I DoorDash, and sometimes if the customer's actually getting their full tip, if the driver is getting their full tip. So sometimes if I'm having a driver deliver to me, I will say, okay, I left you, like after they get it delivered, I'm like, I left you this much tip in the app. Hope that you see it all. Because I try to tell them that they're getting a tip, like, and that's the amount that I left them, because I've heard in the past that DoorDash used to hide tips and keep the tips for themselves. Like, they'll still hide them and then let the customer know, like, oh, well, you actually made this much in tip. Even though we told you this much, this is the amount that we're going to give you, you know. But, and even though on their thing it says 100% of the tip goes to the driver, sometimes you wonder how much of that is true. But being that I knew my information was already in DoorDash, went ahead and ordered DoorDash for my kids. I knew what they would like because they like McDonald's. What kid doesn't? And so I ordered a McDonald's so they could have that. And it could be delivered and to them a lot quicker than I could get it to them. Because I would have to go home, get my wallet, then go back out and get the food and then go back and deliver it to them. You know, not only that, but I still had half of a trailer of stuff that I was still taking up the stairs to my daughter's apartment because we wasn't even halfway done. And then we still had to go out and pick up her boyfriend's stuff from his house. So after I ordered the DoorDash and I put in the app the message to call my son when he delivers it. But then I also messaged the driver himself and said, can you please call this number when you get there? Because my son is home and he'll come out and get it. And so the driver did. And then I should have mentioned to the driver that he was going to get a certain amount of tip because I did tip quite well. I think I tipped like $10 for his tip. It was like either 5 or 10 or 7. I know it wasn't like what they would recommend, like the 2 something. I tipped a pretty good tip. But I used to be a waitress too. Do you know that 22 years ago, the minimum for a waitress was still $2.13 an hour or $2.15 an hour? Well, guess what? 22 years later, it's still exactly the same. They have not raised up that minimum wage for a waitress at all. It's still the same amount that it used to be 22 years ago. I think that's crazy. And the reason why I know that is because when I was picking up an Uber rider out in Provo, like Provo's like 2 hours away from my house, but but I was picking someone up from work and taking him home, and she was working at Denny's. And she had mentioned, you know, that she was a waitress and she had just started. She was pretty new to the trade and she was young. And so I'd asked her, I'm like, so what are they paying waitresses now? She's like $2.15. I'm like, really? Still $2.15? It was that price 22 years ago. It's like, she's like, yeah, how can we survive on that? I'm like, exactly. Because the tips haven't gotten any better. You're not going to be able to survive on the tips that you make as a waitress working at Denny's. I know that because I was a waitress at Denny's. You know, I made okay money, but a good day was bringing home like $50 in a shift. You know, like $50 a day for waitressing, and that's really not that good. Even 20 years ago, it was not that good. It was a horrible, horrible cost, you know, and none of it has changed. You're still not going to get more money waitressing. Oh, you made a pair of Mary Janes to go with the doll dress? Oh, you have to show that, Joni. That will be so cute. I'll watch that video later when you post it. But yeah, just the craziness of like trying to see if I have any more number 2s. And I know later I'll find the number 2 as I'm painting the number 3. You know, like I found that number 1. And then if I can find it again, because I know oh, there's another number 2. I knew I'd find one. And it's kind of sloppy, I guess. Because I am not a professional. Not even. I do not claim to be. Sometimes I claim to be a perfectionist. But that's only sometimes. Other times I could care less. I know how bad that sounds. But yeah. Hopefully you guys are enjoying my little stories because I'm all over the place. I'm trying to find things to talk about. You know? And some of my stories I'm sure that you guys have already heard. Yeah, I'm not seeing any number 2s at the moment. But I guess that's as much as I am going to be able to get done. Well, maybe I'll be able to do a little bit of number 3s. Yeah, I still have like maybe half an hour that I can do this. Oh, the rake disappeared shortly after raking leaves. Well, blessings above, it was just discovered. And where, you ask? Under a pile of leaves that had fallen on top of it. Haha, how funny is that? Yeah, that's funny, Joni. The way it goes. Oh, you like my stories? Well, it's good to create along with me. I wish I could figure out StreamYard so I could, like, open it up. But I can't figure out StreamYard. I can log on with somebody that's already streaming through StreamYard. But I've tried to stream with my computer. I was going to do it with my phone. But then I would have to have my phone up there and looking down. And that's just a pain in the butt. So I was like, yep, that's not happening. So I'm trying to think if I wanted to try to fill in that number 1. And I think I do, because I found it again. I almost lost it. But I can fill in this number 1. I think I only had this one number 1 that I needed to fill in. Oh, and then I had another spot that I had forgotten some of the edges on the number 1. But yeah, I try to come up with stories, you know. Oh, yeah. So I was talking about the Wyoming thing where I used to go to the 7-Eleven. And my mom worked at the Maverick that was just like a block down the road. So I would always go and talk to the manager at the 7-Eleven because, you know, she'd kind of become my friend. Which my mom wasn't like thrilled with because, you know, I was talking to the enemy, the one that didn't hire her. But it is what it is. But one time I'd gone with my little brother to the Maverick, so we'd ridden our bicycles. So I went to the Maverick with my brother because I thought my mom was working. So we go in and I ask, and they're like, no, she just left. I was like, great. But we was going to get some candy anyways because, we were kids. We had a little bit of that spending money, and we got some candy. And of course, we leave our bicycles leaned up against the store, up against the side wall. So not right by the front door, but on the side wall of the building. And so I go to get my bicycle because it's time to go. And my bicycle isn't there. Yeah. Little 8-year-old freaking out because my bicycle is gone. I'm like, what? Like, where did my bicycle go? So I'm walking down to the alleyway behind the store. Yeah. I see my bicycle, so I go over towards it to get it, and there's this man there. Okay. This is a man. At the time, I didn't know this, but he was wanted by the cops, so he had warrants out for his arrest because he was being lewd and exposing himself in public, and he'd been wanting for kidnapping. Well, this guy exposes himself to me, which of course I didn't really look. Well, being an 8-year-old, 8-year-old, it's kind of hard not to see it when all of a sudden they flip it out, Yeah. So, and then he tries to grab me. Well, I go running fast, but I make sure I have my bicycle, and I'm running into that store, and I call. And so we report it to the police, and they did find. So we had to go down to the police station and report it, and I had to do like a little sketch artist type explanation and tell the cops what happened and what situation, so I barely got by this guy, that was scary in itself. So they did end up catching the guy, because I talked to my parents later. I'm like, so did they catch the guy yet? Because I was worried about it for quite a while. And then they finally got the notification that yes, they had found the guy and they caught him, and he was now in custody. And I was like, oh, good. Because I was kind of worried about it, me being little. It's like 7, 8 years old. Kind of scary. Then later on, I realized, that's probably one of the reasons why the school bus would always make sure that you were on the school bus. So I don't think I really broke the rules of riding the school bus so much after that, because I was like, that's the reason why. Because it's kind of scary. Almost being kidnapped. Yeah. One of those lovely things. The things we go through as children. Thing is, my mom wasn't even at work. She'd already left for the day. And we must have just missed her, because, she probably went around one way while we went around the other. Because there was more than one way, obviously, to get to the house. So, yeah. I think I got all of my ones. And if I didn't, no, we get that later. And as I'm going, I'm just snipping apart. I'm just snipping apart these paint cups. Because it just makes more sense to me to have them snipped apart. And I'm seeing a couple of small, somewhat bigger areas. So this is another color green that they have with this. So there's a lot of greens and different tintings for the different colored greens. Well, what do you expect? It's a frog picture. They're going to have lots of greens for these paint by number frog pictures. You know, I could have picked a different picture, but I saw this frog picture, and I like frogs. I like, you know, I used to have a pet frog when I was pregnant with my 12-year-old, so it's been a long time. And I think just shortly after that. But just the stench of it all, like having a frog habitat in your bedroom, because that's where I had to keep it. But I did have other kids. I had Matthew and Brianna, my two oldest. And, you know, they were like, I don't remember their ages exactly. But I think my daughter, she was going to be starting first grade at one point when I started homeschooling. But me and my husband decided that we were going to get a frog. And so we had a frog, and we named the frog Hungry. Well, we had a couple of frogs, but one of the frogs we named Hungry. It was a big fat frog, and it always looked hungry. So we named it Hungry, which is kind of silly. But after a while, the fascination with it just kind of died down. I was like, yep, I'm done. So I think I took it back into the pet store. It's like, here, rehome them. I don't want them anymore. Because I didn't know where else to take them. Because I was done with them. I didn't know what else to do with them. So I took them to the pet store. I'm like, here, I don't want these anymore. It's like, well, we can't give you any money for them. I'm like, I don't want any money for them. I just want them out of my house. Well, because I was pregnant at the time. You know. And I was getting so huge. I swore I had like 3 babies inside me. It felt like it because I was so big. You know, I was like ginormous. Granted, I only had the one baby in me. But he was 7 pounds 10 ounces when he was born. And 21.5 inches long. So he was a pretty good size. And he had a full head of hair. So much hair. But I took those frogs back to the store and told them I was done with them. And I even told my husband when he would call occasionally. Say, yep, I'm getting rid of the frogs. I'm done with them. He's like, okay. And he understood why I was getting rid of them. Because I just couldn't deal with it anymore. Because the stench. Oh my goodness. Frogs have a stench. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. Because they stink. Then at one point, my daughter wanted a snake. Like my 20-year-old. Well, she wasn't 20 at the time. She was probably like 18, 19 at the time. But she wanted a snake. I'm like, no, I'm not doing a snake. It's like, what do you have against pets? And I'm like, I definitely will not do a snake. Didn't like that. She didn't like the idea of me saying no. But then she wanted a dog, and I told her no on the dog, too. Well, I didn't win that argument because she went and got a dog anyways. Because she was always so insistent on having a dog that she was going to do it regardless, whether I liked it or not. So she went and got herself a dog. And then at the time, she promised me, oh, I'll take care of it. I promise. I'll do all the work. Yeah, right. She said she would make sure all the dog poop was cleaned up out of the yard every time, and that she'd make sure she had food and water, and she'd make sure she'd take it out for walks and everything else. Yeah, that didn't happen much. And then she moved out and lived with roommates for a while. And then just recently she moved into an apartment building because she lived in a house with her friends for like 6 months. And then she changed to an apartment and she's living with her boyfriend because the house was just way too expensive for her to afford rent on the house. The landlord was charging astronomical prices. But then after seeing how horrible the place looked after she moved out, like, yeah, I guess the landlord did have reasoning to charge so much, because he's pretty much going to have to replace the carpet because she had pets. She had cats and dog, and she had some birds. The birds aren't too bad. But it's like, they're young adults and they don't know how to clean. Maybe that's part my fault. Maybe I didn't do enough to teach them. Like, my painting is all going all outside the lines here. I'm like doing a horrible job with this. But we only have ducks and 2 guinea pigs that were given to us years ago. They live in the duck house and are fat and happy. Now, well, ducks and stuff, they live outside, right? Well, guinea pigs can be stinky too. Oh my goodness. So my son found out a couple years ago that he's allergic to guinea pigs. Well, he's allergic to rabbits too. Mostly like the fur and the dander that they produce. Because, like, he just touched the guinea pig and then he touched his face. Yeah. He forgot to wash his hands afterwards. Oh, his whole face and his eyes like swelled up like nothing. They were so big. And they were all red and all blotchy and stuff. And then my sister that was my husband's sister that had the guinea pigs. Well, I think she still does. But then my sister, they had a couple of rabbits. And so my son petted him. And then he got all itchy and stuff. And was home, and he had hives all over his body, like everywhere. So I talked to the doctor about, like, well, give him some Benadryl. Worst part is, you can't give a kid Benadryl and then send him to school. Because what are they going to try to do? They're going to try to sleep because you just gave them some Benadryl to fight the allergic reaction that they're having because they have hives all over their body because they played with an animal. But yeah, it's crazy. But then when we had cats here, so the only animal that we have here in this house at the moment is a hamster. And that stays in my 12-year-old's room because he got it for his 12th birthday. And so he's almost had the hamster for a year. Almost. Which is pretty good. And so he's doing a really good job taking care of this hamster. He calls the hamster Pablo. And then shortly, like a little while after he got the hamster and called it Pablo, because they said it was a male hamster. Well, my daughter says, nope, that's a female hamster. Like, are you sure? Because it was in the male hamster cage, at the pet store. So now sometimes my son will call it Paula or Pablito or something. I don't know. Or he'll still call it Pablo, but it's like, yep, her name is Pablo. Which, the O on the end of it stands for a boy's name because, of the way, like, this words are and stuff. But it's all good. But he's doing a really good job taking care of the hamster. Haven't had any real issues. He did come down the other day and it's like, Mom, you should probably order some more hamster food because she's like halfway empty with her food, and he likes to make sure that she always has the food in there that she needs. So I look on my Amazon thing because I'm on like that subscribe and save thing because hamster food is something that we're going to continuously need. And so if I just have it on the subscribe and save and have them just like deliver it certain time every couple months, we're good. But he comes down and is like, Mom, we probably need to order some more hamster food soon. So I look on my thing and I'm like, oh, we've got a shipment coming in November. We're good. He's like, oh, good. And so that reassured him. But he changes its bedding and everything on a regular basis and whatnot. So he does really good with the hamster. Let me get rid of some of this excess paint I've got up in the top of the bristles. Put like a little bit too much paint sometimes. But yeah. He's doing really good with the hamster. But that's the only pet we have in the house. So at one point, we had a dog, like years and years ago. So shortly after we put up the fence in our front, I guess it was before it was after my husband got home from Afghanistan. We put the fence up. And shortly after he got home, we decided that maybe it was time to get a dog. So we found a Cocker Spaniel, and so we went out and got him. His name was Odie. So we had him for several years. And then Odie ended up having a lot of issues like cataracts and medical issues and just really getting to the end of his life. He wasn't going to live much longer. So to make things easier and put him out of his pain and misery, you euthanize him. Because he was getting to where he was just sitting there and soiling himself because he was old and, up there in years where he had it. And he couldn't see because he had cataracts. Sit there and soil himself because he had a hard time moving around because he was in pain. So we'd kind of, let him go. But before that, we'd gotten a cat. So we gotten a cat when he's 10 now. But when he was 1, so he had just turned 1, and we decided that maybe it was time to get a cat. So we looked around and there was a cat advertised for free. And so we went and got the cat, and the cat was only like 4 weeks old, so it was just little tiny. But it looks like it had some issues because it had like a scar on it that was, you know, troubled it a little bit. And but we made sure it had all of its shots and took care of it and made sure it was spayed because it was a female cat. We named her Whitney. But yeah, we had her for like 8 years. And then last year, the year before, I guess it was the year before, like in 21, I guess. I was just done. I was so tired of cleaning up the messes and the puke and just everything everywhere that it was getting close to my birthday, and I decided I was done with the cat. Granted, we still had Tommy, the male cat, because I couldn't get rid of him because it was my daughter's cat. But I could get rid of Whitney. So that's what I did. And so Tommy was kind of sad after that I got rid of the cat. But I took it down to the animal shelter and surrendered the cat. And the animal shelter is like, well, once you surrender an animal, you're put on a no adoption list. I'm like, oh, good. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I don't want to adopt any animals. You can put me on that for my lifetime, please. And I know that kind of sounds funny. Well, I just found another number 2 that I didn't finish filling in because it was more going into the harder areas to get. So I'll fill that in a minute. But yeah, I was like, yes, please put me on the do not adopt list because we have oh my goodness. Hopefully that wasn't on there too long. But yeah, I know it's kind of mean to get rid of a cat like that just to take it to the pound and turn it in. But it's what I did because I was so done. And when they tell me that I can't ever adopt, for like they put me on like a no adoption list for a couple years. I was like, please put me on it forever. Because I don't want to adopt any animals from the pound. I don't want to like have to deal with that ever again. So when my daughter asked later, it's okay, Joni. It happens. I'm just glad I looked up at that time and saw that there. But yeah, I just I decided I was just done with cats. But we still had Tommy, the other cat that's my daughter's. So I still had to deal with him. But one less cat in the house was marvelous. But then my daughter decided that she had to have a a dog. Yeah, tell me about it. Having to worry about that stupid animal. Thing is, she promises that she'll take care of it, that she'll do all the work that's required and be the best dog owner. But she's not. You know, I'm sorry, but I just don't have much faith in it. And sometimes my kids talk about getting another one. I'm like, no. And sometimes I think about it, but then I have to remember what a pain in the butt they are, and that I'm just not at that time in my life where I want an animal. Not only that, but it makes it allergies and just everything come out, you know. Because you do have like the sniffles and like the stuffy noses and stuff due to winter. But with an animal around, it's like all the time. You've got the cat dander and everything. Like the dog brushed its face up against my arm a couple weeks ago. And I didn't wash it off right away because I kind of forgot about it. But then I'm going along my business and I noticed that my arm is breaking out in hives. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I'm thinking of like how that happened. I just thought about it. I'm like, oh, it's because a dog touched its slobber to my arm. So I had to clean it off my arm. Like, luckily, I had like a bottle of water in my van that I had been drinking. So I was able to take that bottle of water and clean off my arm. But it was like, oh my goodness. It was horrible. My arm itched so bad. So I try not to let the dog ever touch me, you know. Like it knows not to jump up on me. Like it'll get around other people and it'll jump up on them and scratch them and stuff. But it knows not to do that with me. I guess just because of my presence and stuff. Because it knows that I'm not going to put up with it. But yeah. I'm like all going outside the lines here. I guess if I used a smaller paintbrush, it wouldn't be so bad. I'm glad you're still sticking with me, Joni. I know this is kind of boring watching me paint. Thanks, Joni. I'm trying, you know. I like to tell stories. But they're all like real life stories too. You know, there's things that have happened in life. You know, I just found some more number twos that I didn't finish filling in. But yeah, I'm not the fan of dogs and cats. I'm just glad I don't have any in my house right now. Like my daughter has like literally become like the cat lady. And I know she'd be appalled that I'm telling this story about her and talking about her. She'd probably say, Mom, why are you telling them stories about me? But yeah, see, starting to pop out at you. The ones and twos. Oh yeah, I find the ones and twos and or like where I started to paint part of it, but didn't like finish it because I didn't see it where it continued on. And then I'm painting the threes, and I'm like, oh yeah, I was supposed to finish painting that area. So when I get back to it, I'm just going to have to remember to finish that area. And I just wish I had more time. It's pretty soon I'll have to go get my kids from school and then be home for a little bit of time. And I'll have to take my son to his therapy appointment. So this morning, my husband was asking if I wanted him to come home right after work or if I was wanting him to, or if it was okay to go visit his brother. That's totally up to you. So I don't know if he's going to come home after he's done with work or if he's going to go visit his brother. But if he comes home after work, he's going to come home so that he can help with the kids. And he said he might leave early so he can be home before I have to go to my son's therapy appointment. Oh, I bet. Like, I know this craft is going to take a little bit longer to do. Like, I'm going to want to, like, put it away and then start back up on it later because there's so much. But I want to do it all, like, online. I kind of want to, like, stream the whole thing of me painting it. Even though I, like, tell ridiculous stories and silly stories and kind of chatter, but I want to, like, you know, want to have something going in the background while I'm telling my story, like painting and stuff. Like if I was just painting it off of, like, if I was just painting it and I was recording it, I would probably have it sped up. Oh, Speedy Gonzalez with all the streams. Yeah. I don't know how to do that though. Because I don't know how to take a video that I stream live and take it and put it on the thing and like to re-edit it on an editor type thing. I don't know how to do that specifically. But that would be cool. Add little music to it and like a little Speedy Gonzalez. Or like the little clown music stuff. How they go do 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 I'm not that great with editing. I do a little bit of editing with my computer, but I don't do it a whole lot because I'm not that great with it. Like, I see some videos out there where they've got all these mad editing skills. It's crazy with their editing skills, and it's like, wow, wouldn't that be something to have those kind of skills to edit? But the thing is, I'm not using StreamYard, Joni, because I can't figure out how to stream from it with my computer. Like, I tried to do a stream when I was doing my unboxing of the Happy Meal with Kathy. And I tried to, like, do StreamYard off of my computer. And it would not do it. Like, for some reason, it couldn't find the camera because I have an integrated camera on the front of my computer. So it couldn't find the software on my computer to link it together to be able to stream, to use StreamYard. Like, if I, like, log on and do it, like, joining somebody's stream, it'll let me use StreamYard, but trying to stream from my computer using StreamYard, it won't do it. I tried. Like, it might let me do it with my phone, but it's just all complicated and stuff. And sometimes I was thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know if I push start, if this is automatically going to start, or what it's going to do. And I guess I need to play around with it a little bit. But it's a little more troublesome on my phone to do it. I'm just not like that tech savvy person. So all this is just like a YouTube live. So I'm streaming like right off of YouTube. And I'm sure there's a way that I can take it and implement it into like implement it into my computer system and then take it and like edit it in my software. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not that tech savvy. I know how to do a little bit of stuff, but not that much. I'm slowly making progress. And it's 12 o'clock. Oh my goodness. I've been on here for 3 hours, Joni. Do you believe that? 3 hours. You know how long it would take to edit a 3-hour video? And how long it would take to like download it and upload it onto YouTube? Like to like do the editing, to export it on the computer so that it saves it, and then to have to like upload it onto YouTube. It would take forever. That's why with this project, I want to just stream it all, because I'm going to want to do it when I have time. So the next time I'm going to like be able to maybe do this is maybe Monday. And I can do this on Monday and do another video, like streaming, if that's okay. I know some of this painting is like really sloppy, like a teenager did it. Seriously. It's not that well done. No interested. Yeah. I know a little bit about technology, but man, the stuff they come up with and how people can edit their stuff and like the like tech savvy stuff. And I'm like, yep, I guess that's just not happening for me because it would be more difficult. It's hard sometimes. Oh, and you're doing your live on Monday, Joni. So, no, are we going to still do that on Sunday with the girls or Saturday? Because I know we talked about it for that craft session with the girls. Any time is good. Like, just pick a time that works good for you. And I'll make sure that I'm actually up and ready and have the kids fed before you start. So then I won't be cooking like in the middle of it. Yeah, for the most part, my life is pretty flexible too. Trying to see if I have any more threes that maybe I can splatter this on. Yeah, most of it's already dried out. Okay. When are mine the best behaved? I don't know. Yeah, just choose a time. So if you want to do it before or after lunch, your time will be good because we're 2 hours difference. So, like your kids' lunchtime is going to be like 2 hours before mine. And we're usually on for an hour with the kids. So, and that's if Elizabeth will even want to stay on. I know last week she was like, nope, I'm done. But this is what I have done so far. And then I know I still have a couple spots up here that were like offshoots from number 2 that I probably need to finish filling in. Like the one, like right here, I have a spot. I might fill that in when I get home. And like right here, But I won't do much more than that because I want to make sure I'm doing this on camera. But I don't want to forget about those spots. Yeah, it's slowly starting to look like a picture. Let me see. Since I'm right here and I'm saying this, I'll just go ahead and fill in these spots really quick. Then I don't forget. Because I know I would probably forget. Because that's a life of a mom. We say something, but then life takes over when the kids get home. And you don't always have time to finish stuff. So guess what I did the other day, Joni? I actually went and I got myself a heat gun. You know, because you see these crafters like Beth and Becca and, you know, Lori and Mari and, well, Mary and them all using these heat guns. And so I do a little bit of the painting and stuff that I'm trying to do on that journal thing that I'm painting. Trying to paint the cardboard pit, like the newspaper ad pictures and stuff. And I think this is also a number 3. So seeing all that, and I'm like, I should really like get a heat gun. So I was looking on the website because I knew that Harbor Freight had heat guns. So I looked it up and they had heat guns. And so I went. I think that's supposed to be part of number 3. I went and got one. I don't know what that's supposed to be. That's supposed to be 23. Okay. I'm looking through this and I'm like, oh, those should be finish up number 3s. And here I have number 2 on my brush. Even though I should probably be going. Do you want to see the heat gun, Joni? I can show it to you really quick. Yeah, Harbor Freight has heat guns. So right now, well, in my area, they actually have like the accessory tool on clearance for like $6.97. Until like it's a 9-piece like accessory tool. So I bought an accessory tool when I went and got my heat gun. The thing is, I didn't realize when I was getting it that part of the pieces in it were missing. And I could take the one that had the missing pieces back, but I'm like, you know what? It's okay. But so I have the pieces here. It says heat gun accessory kit. And so my other piece was missing this one right here, the nozzle one, and then that big one. It had these other 2 pieces, and then it had everything else. So it's just missing 2 nozzles. But for some of the stuff I want to do, I need that concentrated nozzle. But yeah, they had this kit for like $6.97. And so it has like these different pieces in here. So it has like the little nozzles and like the little tools and stuff. So I got this kit for $6.97 because it was on clearance. And then my heat gun, I got I'll show you the box first. So I got the bar box, like the heat gun thing. And so they do have a heat gun at Harbor Freight that was like $16.99, so like $17 for a heat gun, which is fine. It has like 2 different Yeah, it is huge, but they only have like the huge ones. They don't have like those ones that you can just hold in your hand like a hair dryer and just dry it. You know, it's got to have the handle and stuff. But I'm okay with that because some of those other things I'm like, I don't know if I want that kind, but this kind is okay. Yeah, it is kind of big. So, and they do have cordless ones that use a battery pack. But the thing is, they only sell the tool and you have to buy the charger and the battery separate. So the reason why I got this one, like the 1691, it has like 2 different settings. So it has a 1 and a 2 setting. This one has the 1, but that's a cool off setting. Then they have a 2, which is like just a low heat. And then they have the high heat on the setting. But I got this one. This one was like $39.99 because it's on sale this week. And so it has this like little knob thing here that you can turn like the heat of the gun. So it goes from like a 1 to 7 for the different settings. And so it will be a different setting whether you have it, like if you have it on low heat, it will be a different setting. If you have it on high heat, it will be a different setting, you know, just depending on the heat you want to put out. But it has like that little temperature thing on there that shows it. So the $99 one, it only had like the little lever thing that went between like low heat and high heat. Well, I kind of wanted one that went between. So this one will go between 500 degrees, like the fan temperature range, to 1100 degrees. Yeah, that's super, super hot. Thing is, I don't know if this is going to be able to handle it because even like trying to press on this was bad. So using a heat gun on it, that might be really, really bad. So if I was to do something and use a heat gun, I might have to like actually like get a piece of wood or something to actually set down because of the amount of heat. Like my laptop, I actually keep it on top of a box on my table because if I have it flat on the table, it heats up the table and then it warps my green cutting mat. So I try to keep that down. But yeah, that's my heat gun I went and got. And I know you can order them off of Amazon for a decent price. And they're probably more like what they have, like what you see the other ladies use. But I did test out and make sure that these little nozzles and things did fit on top of the, like on that little nozzle before I got them. Like I made sure that that went on. What? It's not going on. Uh-oh. I got the wrong one then. But that's not staying on. Oh no. Yeah, I thought about the blow dryer thing. Like my thing is I had tried it with the plastic on it. But this does like maybe it will like straighten up. I should have really taken this out of the package and tried it before. That might have made sense. Like this one sticks on just fine. This nozzle piece does not though. That could be a problem. And my little fingers just aren't strong enough to squeeze those together. Now that's not staying on like it's supposed to. Dang it. Now I thought about the hairdryer thing, Joni, and it blows everything around everywhere. It's crazy. Now trying that with that is kind of making me double think my purchase with this heat gun. Because they don't have any Chicago Electric heat guns to use with this. And that just doesn't quite seem like it's long enough. I might have to go back and exchange this for a different one. Dang it. Because those aren't sticking on. That needs to be just a little bit longer. Oh, man. I'm a little disappointed now. I didn't realize that was going to be a problem. But when I tried it with the plastic. It's like, oh yeah, that's going to fit. Dang it. I'm going to have to try something else out. I might have to take this one back. They did have another one, but it was like $59.99, but it was like regular $69, so it was a little bit on sale. And it was like a better one. It had like it had like a digital like temperature reader, so you had like the different temperatures that you could actually scan through. So I might have to look at that. All right, well, I gotta go. I gotta go get my kids from school. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day and stay creative. Talk to you next time. Bye now.